This property runs this community. A lot of people from this community work here. They're proud of this. This has got a lot of history here. And then when you think about the beauty with the hills, the mountains, the trees, the water.
One thing about this place is one of the words he kept saying, family. It's a place that when my family, everyone comes, they treat you like family. They treat you like you're one of their own. And it's, obviously when you look at the place, you look at the rooms, everything, it's like taking a step back in time. And I think that's an absolutely amazing place to be able to put your phone down and slow everything down. I mean, the world these days is so fast. Everything has to get done so quickly. And every time I've come here with my family at Greenbrier, it's like everything stops and it's slow motion. You actually get to enjoy life, enjoy your time with family.
Just this place feels like I'm a kid again. You get out here and you see nature, you see the trails, you see going on a hike. I grew up in Fresno. We go up to the mountains every once in a while, and that's just kind of what it feels like a little bit. Obviously, it's more forested here and whatnot, but the 58, I don't know how to explain it, just kind of semi-blacked out, you can kind of say. It was one of those moments where the last 4 holes, I was obviously trying to win a tournament, but it started to rain, and I just kept focusing on my game. I didn't get outside of this bubble that I created with myself. I just wanted to focus on hitting the next best shot. And I think that's what really pushed me on to focusing on obviously winning the tournament, but to shoot in the 50s and then ultimately make the 40-footer on the last hole for 58. That was just the cherry on top. And what a special moment, a special place in my heart forever, and probably one of the most special moments in my entire life.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid on this Friday. And by the way, the last Friday that we have here on SportsGrid without calling it a football Friday, because college football season begins next Saturday. So officially, this is it, folks. If you're going to take a vacation, you want to take a few days off away from the football season, now is the time, because several games next week, Labor Day weekend, the college football week 1 begins, and here on SportsGrid, our coverage is going to be unmatched each and every Friday and Saturday, for that matter, all throughout the college football season. Then, of course, the pros start up in September. But today on the show, we will talk some NFL. Jerod Cherry, former NFL player, will join us to preview the Cleveland Browns season as they get ready for another preseason game coming. By the way, preseason game last night between Philadelphia and New England. We'll have some reaction to that as well. And also the very latest in sports betting with our guest contributors from Legal Sports Report and, of course, Bill Bender from Sporting News as we get ready for next week's college football game. So that and the recaps from the WNBA. Did I miss anything? Well, we're going to find out. Let's get started with this crazy story that broke yesterday, courtesy, by the way, of Sports Illustrated. Great reporting here. As a reporter, I got to tell you, this is a story that takes a long time to uncover. Notre Dame, their swim team. Why are we leading with the swim team on the show? I'm going to tell you why. Their men's swim team were running this pseudo-gambling operation. Yes, this is true. The team essentially was investigated, and it was revealed that they had a gambling issue that violated NCAA rules. According to this report, allegedly, the staff were not aware that the students and student athletes had their own swimming sports book for the purpose of wagering on their own swimming performances. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, this is according to sources. Now, remember, a majority of the returning team is believed to have placed bets over underlines that were established for a swimmer's times in different races they participated in, with wagers being placed on the outcomes. Now, of course, there are no gambling companies in the United States that take wagers or produce betting lines on college swimming. So, needless to say, a story that has just broken yesterday that will have to follow, the Notre Dame swim team in very serious jeopardy of not having a team at this point. All right, on the PGA Tour, let's get to the very latest on the St. Jude leaderboard. A tournament will be following through the weekend. right now, limited players playing in this, by the way, this week, a different kind of tournament, but some stars, as you see Hideki Matsuyama's playing. He's 6 under par. Denny McCarthy is 8 under as it stands right now, as they're well underway with day 2. Sam Burns is 8 under. Chris Kirk, who had a great start to his day yesterday. I believe Chris Kirk had a hole-in-one. 6 under par, has not teed off yet today. Victor Hovland also in the mix at 5 under. All right, college football playoff making an important announcement going into the season. It's going to be very hard to unpack all these new rules. We'll try to explain them to you as the season goes along, because you're going to think that maybe your favorite college football team is out of the playoff and they have a chance, and you'll think they're in and they're really out. But here's another rule that has been incorporated so you can understand it. The College Football Committee has decided that the conference champions as one of its tiebreakers, because of the new 12-team format, is out. So conference championship doesn't mean anything like it used to. It's just the guaranteed bids for the 5 highest-ranked conference winners. That is what's going into this new protocol. It was approved by the FBS and Notre Dame. Of course, they are independent. They decided for the 12-team format this fall, but they wanted to place the emphasis more on winning than a conference title. So naturally, this changes the landscape of college football. Just another footnote in the upcoming crazy college football season, which will preview the games with Bill Bender of Sporting News coming up in less than 10 minutes from now. Last night in NFL preseason action, did you catch any of it? Probably not. It's okay. The Eagles beat the Patriots 14-13 yesterday. Jerod Mayo, who won his first preseason game as the head coach of the Patriots against the Carolina Panthers. Boy, the Patriots did sort of fall flat. That 13-point outcome, sort of what we expected, although they didn't go crazy in the first game either. Strangely enough, head coach of the Patriots, Jerod Mayo, felt like he took this one on the chin a little bit for a regular season game. Post-game, sounded pretty depressed.
Look, obviously that one kind of stings. First loss as the head coach. And, just like last week, we talked about this game being very important, especially, after we practiced against this team, and I felt like the guys were ready to go. I just got to do a better job making sure that we focus on the details across the board. And I always believe in good fundamentals really outweighs the X's and O's. If you look at the game, the first half we tackled a lot better than we did the second half. It's just about it's those 3 or 4 plays that always bite you. That's what I told the team. The problem is you just never know when those plays are going to show up. So back to the drawing board.
Yeah, as I would say, Jerod, it's okay. It's just the preseason in the NFL. You have a long way to go in the season. Anyway, the Atlanta Falcons, they just keep piling on players. They got Judon the other day. They now have added Justin Simmons to the mix. They signed him to a new contract, so he joins a very talented defense for Atlanta, both offense and defense, by the way. Matt Milano, linebacker of the Buffalo Bills, he tore his bicep. He's going to be out indefinitely, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. And also an announcement made yesterday that Jim Harbaugh, who is trying to assist Colin Kaepernick somehow for getting back in the NFL, maybe not as a player, but as a coach. He announces yesterday that Kaepernick will not join the Chargers coaching staff going into the season. You may have seen clips recently from Kaepernick. Sounds like he still wants to play in the NFL, although it's been, feels like a decade or more. All right, the National Football League is going to debut on a Thursday night, but then the second game of the season, yes, is on a Friday night, and they're going to play in Brazil. So the NFL makes the announcement yesterday that these pop-up shops are in. You've heard about these, I'm sure, all over the country, but outside of the country as well. Brazil is going to have 6 stores put together by the NFL and Fanatics ahead of that. So if any of you are watching overseas and you're looking to buy some gear, you will have your opportunity there. Ohio State has named their starting quarterback. It is transfer Will Howard from Kansas State. Started 28 games for K-State, and the Wildcats won the 2022 Big 12 title. 48 touchdowns with Kansas State. Pretty good quarterback. Will get an opportunity to play again this year. By the way, high school football also getting underway. A lot of kids making their high school football debuts tonight and next week as well, as school is back underway. But unfortunately, a very difficult story to tell. In Rome, Georgia, a high school team had a car accident, and 11 kids were injured in the team and had to cancel their first game tonight. So want to wish the very best for those kids, and hopefully they can get back on the football field soon. All across the country, high school football returning this evening at the very least for scrimmages, and then everyone is playing next week, and then Labor Day weekend as well. All right, Christian Yelich, he will not be playing for the Milwaukee Brewers anytime soon. He's had this back issue that's plagued him throughout his career, and he's finally decided to do something serious about it, although it's going to cost him the rest of the season. He's having back surgery, the dreaded back surgery, which sometimes can keep you out for a few months, and sometimes you miss a full year. We've seen this before. Who knows with Yelich what will happen? But it sounded like in a video that he posted yesterday, just sick and tired of missing time with it. So we wish him the best too. The Brewers beat the Dodgers 6-4. The Dodgers lead the NL West by just 2 games right now. What happened to the Dodgers winning 110 games and winning the division by 20? That's not happening. Phillies beat the Nationals 13-3. Weston Wilson is the first Phillies rookie to hit for a cycle. 13-3 the final. Wilson hit a ball into the gap. It was almost caught. Wouldn't have been a cycle, but ended up getting a double to complete it. The Athletics have approved their Las Vegas stadium, or at least it's getting close. As they said at a board meeting yesterday, they're rounding third, heading for home. So hopefully there is no block at the plate, as Las Vegas and the A's are a match. Indianapolis is the next destination of the 2025 All-Star game in the WNBA. So they go from the NBA to the WNBA, and with Caitlin Clark playing for the Indiana Fever, that does make some sense. The Liberty yesterday beat the Sparks. Get this, folks. They were, I believe, 11-point favorites. They win the game. First game out of the break, 103-68 in Los Angeles. Breanna Stewart, 27 points there yesterday. The Mercury, also a big favorite. They end up winning 85-65 in Chicago. And then the Minnesota Lynx defeated the very dismal Washington Mystics 79-68. Those were the 3 WNBA games that debuted back yesterday after the All-Star break ended. But coming up next, our college football slumber is almost officially over. The first games of the season, week 0, are 1 week from tomorrow. Bill Bender will be with us to preview the games next. Don't go away.
What a chance it is for Adam Paxton and Victor Tingsham to pick up their first weekly titles. Adam Paxton, well, it's been the dream debut so far for him. For Victor Tingsham, he'll feel like this is a moment a little while coming. A place in the final up for grabs for one.
You can do it. Make that double 18 away for a place in the final.
Wesley Plaisir was beaten, knocked out by Mike Warburton in a last leg decider.
That is what they are playing for. They are playing for the trophy. They are playing for the big prize pot, and they are playing for a place in the £25,000 Champions Week.
97.
There is a point you feel that reality will surely kick in for Adam Paxton. He's here on debut. He watches the Super Series almost every single week. He was happy just to be playing in a group. This could be the leg that we talk about at the end of the night as being the one that changed the final, because Adam Paxton has just gone cold at the moment.
Bang on,
He doesn't just get 2, he gets the lot.
Adam should take out the 16 out. If not, Mike's just behind him.
Shot of the fifth leg.
Can Paxton deliver one of the biggest moments of his career so far? He can. Double 12. What a moment that is from Adam Paxton. Mike Warburton was looking at 60 to win the match. Paxton, here's your moment. He approaches the hockey with confidence, with time, and delivers. Adam Paxton on debut. The boy, the fanboy, comes to the Super Series and wins.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Bill Bender has been covering college football for decades. I've been watching, and by the way, covering college football for decades too, let's be honest. University of Miami, Florida Gators. And I wonder if, Bill and I had to write a diary to our old self, and we would have told each other, hey, Bill, You know, the National Football League in week 1 is going to open up in Brazil, and the college football season is going to open up in Dublin, Ireland. Bill, I wonder what you would have told me 20 years ago if I would have told you that was going to happen.
Yeah, my college self wouldn't have believed it. I think this year in particular, everything's new. Have something next to your remotes where it tells you what teams and what conference, and that there's a 2-minute warning now, and that this game has playoff implications. There are so many changes to the game, but it's almost here, and it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, no, definitely so. I can't wait. Honestly, once Monday comes of next week, we're here. So let's get started off. Florida State playing with the chip on their shoulder all season. There's no question that this is going to be a very pivotal season as far as attitude for them. They're going to want to show the college football world that not only should they have been in the college football playoff, maybe that they would have won it. They're ranked 10th coming into the season. They take on a Georgia Tech team that, once again, Bill, it feels like the Yellow Jackets once every 4 years are good, and then the other 3, they're not very good. Knowles, 11.5-point favorites, neutral site, total of 56.5. So I guess we're not going to have a shortage of offense in this game, are we?
No, and there's a fascination, obviously, with Florida State and DJ Uiagalelei. Got it right. It takes many years of practice with that. Coming over from Oregon State, coming over from Clemson. How does he look in this offense? That's one piece of the puzzle. Patrick Payton, the edge rusher on the other side for the Seminoles, really good player as well. And you mentioned that chip on the shoulder after last year. Playing a really good Georgia Tech team, though. Hayes King led the ACC in touchdown passes last year. They have a strong running game. Their defense was terrible against the run, though, 128th. So I think Florida State's going to test the running game early, let DJU settle in, and go from there. That spread, though, looks a little high to me, knowing that Georgia Tech was 7-2 against the spread under Brent Key last year. I don't know if they're an ACC championship contender, but I think they can hang around while both these teams get their footing in a, let's just say, unfamiliar setting.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair assessment. And, the other part of this, too, that may tell a bigger story about who Florida State is. They're ranked 10th going into the season, Bill. But let the controversy already begin, because their no to make the college football playoff is minus 200. So try to make sense of that one, Bill. They're ranked 10th in the country, which puts them, at least at the start of the season, what would be in the playoff with 12 teams. But the odds makers are basically saying that they're not going to make it here. So what am I missing?
I think there's some faith in Clemson and their roster and their defense. I think there's a lot of faith in Miami. I know you're closer to that. There is a lot of hype around the Hurricanes right now, and Cam Ward and Damian Martinez, the Oregon State transfer running back, as talented a team as Miami has had in a while and able to compete. They do play Florida State this year. I still think Florida State's the favorite in the ACC, though. The depth that they have on the defensive side of the ball, the availability that Mike Norvell's been able to capitalize on in the transfer portal and add guys on that defense. And DJU will be the key to that. I think a guy in this Georgia Tech game to keep an eye on is Hakeem Williams, sophomore receiver, bit of a role player last year. But Florida State always has those guys. And Craig, you've been around it down there long enough to know, I think Mike Norvell has Florida State in a spot, maybe a little bit like Bobby Bowden and Jimbo, where they're good for 10 wins a year. As long as they're playing in the ACC against those teams and they're playing at this level, they should be good for double-digit wins every season. Maybe not a national title, maybe not the playoff every year, but they're going to be in the hunt.
Yeah, and Norvell, I thought, was criticized extremely unfairly after his second year at Florida State. It was like, he basically said that you got to give me, a couple years to get my kids in. He did, and look at what the results have been since then. So I agree. Meanwhile, let's talk about Georgia Tech here. You think they're a little bit better maybe than they show here. Their win total, though, is 4.5, Bill. This is like the bottom of the conference. 142 is the money line on the over there. Is that the way you would lean?
I'm a little surprised at that number, given how they closed last season. Brent Key, I trust guys that are alum of the place they coach, and you can tell they care. And Georgia Tech and Brent Key was able to do that last year. They played well in their bowl game. They have Jamal Haynes back. Jamal Haynes averaged 6.1 yards per carry last year for the Yellow Jackets. Excellent in the backfield. They did need to fix that run defense, which gets you in trouble. If you can't stop the run, you can't win more than 4 or 5 games anyway. So Kyle Effort's back, their linebacker. They got a couple guys in the transfer portal. I think they're going to compete. Haynes King, the thing with him, enjoyable to watch, but he turns the ball over a little bit. So they're going to have to play clean, more clean this year if they want to get to a bowl game.
All right, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. My buddy Rich Waltz, who we're going to have on the show next week, he's calling the game for CBS Sports Network. I mean, Bill, if this was, if there were 10 games on a Saturday night, we wouldn't pay any attention to it. But this is like the premium game here. SMU taking on Nevada. I'm shocked here. 27.5-point favorites to open up the season. 56.5 is the total. So this tells me that Nevada must be awful. I mean, I can't see this any other way. First year for SMU in the ACC, but I don't remember SMU being this big a favorite against any Division I team in a long time.
Well, Nevada, new coach too, Jeff Choate. They were 2-10 last year. They are at home, so I look for them to be loose, maybe throw an onside kick in there, try to do some things to get the crowd fired up in Jeff Choate's first game. But SMU is pretty strong. Preston Stone's back. He can throw it around. Elijah Roberts had 10 sacks for them last season. Pretty good. They weren't great against the spread, 2-2 against the spread as a road favorite last year. But I like the Mustangs. They could be an ACC sleeper. The spread and the over are right about where I think this game's going to be. I think it'll be about 42-14 SMU. You're right on the line. It's risky. I like SMU to cover and maybe a slight under depending on if Nevada can punch it in a few times.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that several times for this to go over, at least from what I'm looking at here in the total here. Okay, well, Bill, get your rest this weekend. It all begins next week, and I look forward to making the final predictions for the season when we see you next week. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, Bill Bender with us here on the show. By the way, that's the way predictions work, folks. For those of you who make predictions, you're entitled to do whatever you want. You can change your opinion throughout the season, but you got to plant that flag before the season begins to say that you got it right at the beginning of the year. We'll do that next week. We'll be back with the sound off next.
What a chance it is for Adam Paxton and Victor Tingsham to pick up their first weekly titles. Adam Paxton, well, it's been the dream debut so far for him. For Victor Tingsham, he'll feel like this is a moment a little while coming. A place in the final up for grabs for one.
You can do it. Make that double 18 away for a place in the final.
Wesley Plaisir was beaten, knocked out by Mike Warburton in a last leg decider.
Play. That is what they are playing for. They are playing for the trophy. They are playing for the big prize pot, and they are playing for a place in the £25,000 Champions Week.
97.
There is a point you feel that reality will surely kick in for Adam Paxton. He's here on debut. He watches the Super Series almost every single week. He was happy just to be playing in a group. This could be the leg that we talk about at the end of the night as being the one that changed the final, because Adam Paxton has just gone cold at the moment.
Bang on cue.
He doesn't just get two, he gets the lot.
Adam should take out the 16 out. If not, Mike's just behind him.
Shot on the fifth leg.
Can Paxton deliver one of the biggest moments of his career so far? He can. Double 12. What a moment that is from Adam Paxton. Mike Warburton was looking at 60 to win the match. Paxton, here's your moment. He approaches the hockey with confidence, with time, and delivers. Adam Paxton on debut. The boy, the fanboy, comes to the Super Series and wins.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. College football, as we mentioned, is right around the corner. We're going to have a preview and hear from the team that plays first, the Florida State Seminoles, Mike Norvell, after one of his practices this week. We'll also talk some Philadelphia Eagles football. And we'll begin with some college football from our buddy Ben Stevens. It's time now for the sound off. Well, rankings, what do they really mean in the end? Nothing, right? Let's just be honest. And that's been proven now here in college football. It's really cool to be ranked at the top because it does give you a better shot at the college football playoff. That's the main benefit from it. But the number one team going into a season in college football basically never wins the championship. Believe it or not, a lot of those teams that have been ranked 2, like Alabama for many years, have won the championship being ranked 2 or 3. But this year, the Georgia Bulldogs are ranked number 1 going into the season again. Is that like the Madden curse? Is it bad to be ranked number 1 ahead of a college football season? Our very own Ben Stevens weighs in on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
The preseason AP Top 25 poll is now out ahead of the 2024 college football season. And for a second consecutive year, Georgia is the number 1 team in the country in the preseason AP poll. But will UGA this year be able to get rid of the number 1 preseason curse? 18 of the last 20 teams to be ranked number 1 in the preseason AP poll have come up short of ending the year number 1 and winning a national championship. Only 2004 USC and 2017 Alabama are the exceptions to this long-standing rule. But Georgia not only the preseason number 1 team, the preseason national championship favorites at plus 280. UGA also a minus 590 favorite to reach the college football playoff. The odds makers expect Georgia to have a great opportunity to debunk the number 1 preseason curse in the 2024 college football season. Craig, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Ben. And naturally, again, not every team that is ranked number 1 has not won the championship, but as Ben illustrated, only 2 out of the last 20 years. Hard to believe that Alabama winning all those championships was not ranked 1 going into the season. But by the way, the times that they were ranked 1, they are among the teams that did win the championship, being ranked number 1 going into a season. So go figure there. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles wrapped up week 2 of the preseason. They'll have 1 more week to get things going for the regular season. And clearly they're hoping that the beginning of their season is like the end of their season, because last year it was not. In fact, the Eagles were one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl in the first half of the season before they fell apart. Nick Sirianni, their head coach, says that with 1 game in the preseason to go, it's time now for the real thing.
Every year is a new set of challenges. Every year is new circumstances. Every year, everything's always on the table of what you want to do and what you think you do to. The main goal is to get your guys ready to go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I'd say we've started these last 2 years pretty hot off the starting 8-0 I believe 8-0 and 22 and 5-0 last year before we lost. So like the main goal is to make sure we're winning that first game and we're ready for that first game and to continue to build off that first game. So you want to look as pretty as you possibly can, as far as clean as you possibly can that first game, because clean football is what helps you win that first game. But the main goal at the end of the day is to score more points than the other team.
And speaking of which, we got a preview here from Mike Norvell, head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, for their game coming up in Ireland against Georgia Tech.
I thought today was a really good Wednesday practice. Having this our first kind of third down, your red zone 2-minute, with a real focus on Georgia Tech. And I thought the guys, the approach to the work, we still had some good speed, ones-on-ones, getting after it. But I thought the guys, approached the day the right way. Obviously things we get to clean up and continue to improve upon. But the last few days have been really, really pleased with this team. And, we've had a 4-day stretch. Tomorrow we'll have a kind of a mock game going through all situations, things to expect, maybe sometimes the unexpected. We try to throw in there just for newcomers, for old guys, for coaches, for everybody involved to be prepared to respond in the situation. But I really like what I've seen throughout the course of this week, and just the guys' overall mindset. I thought receivers have had, just want to give them a shout out. I thought they really raised the level of their game here this week, and thought I had another good day, and just competitiveness with them and the defensive backs, and how those guys are challenging and working with each other to go get better has been really really good. So I thought it was a good day all in all, but definitely proud of what I'm seeing from that group as we get closer to game day.
FSU and Georgia Tech next Saturday. Matthew Waters joins us next.
What a chance it is for Adam Paxton and Victor Tingsham to pick up their first weekly titles. Adam Paxton, well, it's been the dream debut so far for him. For Victor Tingsham, he'll feel like this is a moment a little while coming. A place in the final up for grabs for one.
You can do it. Make that double 18 away for a place in the final.
Wesley Plaisir was beaten, knocked out by Mike Warburton in a last leg decider.
Play. That is what they are playing for. They are playing for the trophy. They are playing for the big prize pot, and they are playing for a place in the £25,000 Champions Week.
97.
There is a point you feel that reality will surely kick in for Adam Paxton. He's here on debut. He watches the Super Series almost every single week. He was happy just to be playing in a group. This could be the leg that we talk about at the end of the night as being the one that changed the final, because Adam Paxton has just gone cold at the moment.
Bang on cue.
He doesn't just get two, he gets the lot.
Adam should take out the 16 out. If not, Mike's just behind him.
He shot on the fifth leg.
Can Paxton deliver one of the biggest moments of his career so far? He can. Double 12. What a moment that is from Adam Paxton. Mike Warburton was looking at 60 to win the match. Paxton, here's your moment. He approaches the hockey with confidence, with time, and delivers. Adam Paxton on debut. The boy, the fanboy, comes to the Super Series and wins.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got another crazy sports betting story. This one, really is. By the way, I should say, great job investigating by Sports Illustrated to have this kind of detail revealed, albeit again allegations at this point before truth. I want to mention that, but let's bring in Matthew Waters to talk about this Notre Dame sportsbook for swimming stories. Now, Matt, I did this in the open and discussed it a little bit, just how crazy it seems that the swimming team at Notre Dame could concoct this idea to open up a sports book for their own swimmers, I'm guessing, for their own team, I'm guessing, and it also remains to be seen if anybody on the outside was really betting on this stuff too. I mean, the layers of this story, I think we've only scratched the surface on.
Yeah, Craig, like you said, great reporting. It was such an interesting read because we have had, obviously, gambling issues at the amateur, professional level, but this one is different, right? I mean, this is just, you could frame it a couple different ways. You could frame it the way that it's being framed, that it's a gambling violation and you can't be doing this. You can also frame it as, hey, there are a bunch of guys in the locker room having some fun, and maybe you could even say they were trying to motivate each other with the lines they were trying to set with the races, right? But yeah, still goes against those rules, doesn't it, Craig? And that's what the release from Notre Dame said. It said, we looked into this and it was deeper than we even thought it could be. And yeah, it goes against the rules and we're going to suspend them for at least a year. And it is good to see that teams are taking this kind of thing seriously. Obviously, we have seen what can happen when they don't. We've had in a couple of states some pretty big issues opening up where it seems like maybe if somebody was paying attention, it would have stopped a little earlier. But this is a really interesting one. And you wonder, if the Notre Dame men's swimming team had an internal pool, let's call it that way, an internal pool going with bets, who else might have that, right? Is this something that happens in every locker room? I mean, obviously there's a difference between, two buddies sitting in the dugout, comes up for him to hit the on deck circle and looking at him saying, $10, you won't smack it out, compared to actually setting betting lines and taking over unders and all that kind of stuff. Really wild story. Interested to see what more can come out of it. And like you said, the different way that the details fall on this, Craig, can lead us in a couple different directions. But what we do know right now is that the team will be suspended at least a year. And you have to figure that Notre Dame is going to be taking things a little more seriously on campus when it comes to watching out for gambling.
Yeah, I mean, you could bet on a lot of different things with swimming too. The amount of strokes you take, how long you're under the water for. I mean, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more revealed in this story in the future. We just found out about it yesterday. Okay, so a story that was out last week, we didn't talk about it a ton here on NewsWire, is this company called Intralot. Now, Matt, I think we should catch people up with who this company is. They're being investigated right now. I know that they're based out of Washington, D.C., and they were prominent in the sports betting market there. So before I go any further, I'm going to turn this one over to you. Who is Intralot, and what are they under investigation for?
Yeah, well, Intralot, Craig, actually, they're a Greek company that is a lottery provider, and they also offer sports betting as well. So Intralot works with a lot of the U.S. lotteries, providing their draw-based games and their lottery systems and all that kind of stuff. Intralot was also the provider of sports betting in Washington, D.C., and that happened because a certain council member, pushed for there to be a no bid contract in D.C., and he basically just said, look, let's give the deal to Intralot. They're already our lottery provider. If we don't get this up and running as fast as we can, we could lose, I believe he said something like $60 million over a little over 2 years, this council member Jack Evans did. And you know what, Craig? It turned out that Jack Evans was a little dirty, and he was in bed with people that were getting kickbacks from Intralot, and he was removed from the council. Now, Intralot just did a terrible job with DC sports betting and was kicked out. They now have a different way to do sports betting in DC, with the market being open to the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the Caesars, the MGMs. And now the Attorney General of the District of Columbia wants to look into these Intralot compacts and wants to look into what exactly was promised, what happened, and why it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. And basically, the way that this is going down is the Washington City paper says that they talk about false claim violations, which is basically what happens when contractors or companies say that they are owed money by the district for work that was not fully or completely or correctly performed. So the Attorney General, it seems like, is coming out and saying, look, you guys promised a whole heck of a lot for sports betting, and it didn't even come close to what it should have. We know Intralot and their Gambit DC platform missed their expected earnings year after year after year, and it was cut and cut and cut. So it's going to be really fun to see what happens with that. Intralot is still in the U.S. sports betting business. They're up in Montana. They have a book in Maryland, and their odds all across the country, from what we've seen, they've all been really highly juiced, and that was Intralot's plan. Basically, they wanted to get the people that maybe weren't great sports bettors or learned sports bettors. They just wanted people that wanted to get down, and so they weren't necessarily line shopping. And it didn't work out for Intralot. It got them kicked out of DC, and now it could be getting them sued.
Yeah, no, they want to see if Intralot can get through this or what kind of legal ramifications it has. All right, everyone familiar with FanDuel Sportsbook? Some people familiar with the fact that they're owned by a company. The parent company is Flutter. And Flutter, it looks like right now, Matthew, looking to expand to other companies, which they've already done already, by the way. But this latest one is Italy. What is the deal here?
Yeah, Flutter is the parent brand that owns FanDuel, and it's how FanDuel is different from DraftKings, right, Craig? DraftKings is DraftKings. They have what they do. They have, their online casino, their sportsbook. Flutter has all kinds of international business that has given them a backstop to push FanDuel further and not have to worry about making a profit as quickly, even though they have. Now they're looking at dropping up to $2 billion on buying Snaitech, the leader of Italian sports betting. And it's kind of crazy, Craig, because, we had the conversations come up where maybe Flutter would be buying the interactive business of Penn if Penn wanted to sell after that shareholder letter came out. And there was all those, the rumors about maybe Penn selling to Boyd, and then maybe Flutter jumps in and buys that. Now they're looking at maybe spending $2 billion in Italy. And look, they didn't even say no, that they weren't looking into buying the interactive business of Penn Entertainment. They basically just said, some of the best deals are the ones we haven't done, but they didn't say yes or no. So Flutter is busy. We know that Flutter just wants to keep building and keep growing. And, on the other side of things, DraftKings has to be a little careful with what it does. It doesn't have the cash flow coming in. So Flutter's able to do things a little bit differently. And right now we're seeing just exactly what they can do. Adding Snaitech would be huge for their bottom line and would make them an even more attractive company for investors.
Yep. All right. Well, Matt, great stuff as always. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch up again next week. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Jerod Cherry joins us next. We're going to preview the Cleveland Browns' upcoming season. They, of course, have an NFL preseason game to play tomorrow night. Jerod Cherry's all over that. We'll talk about some of the adds, some of the departures, and simply put, how many games Jerod thinks the Browns can win this year. We'll talk about that next here on NewsWire. Don't go away.
What a chance it is for Adam Paxton and Victor Tingsham to pick up their first weekly titles. Adam Paxton, well, it's been the dream debut so far for him. For Victor Tingsham, he'll feel like this is a moment a little while coming. A place in the final up for grabs for one.
You can do it. Make that double 18 away for a place in the final.
Wesley Plaisir was beaten, knocked out by Mike Warburton in a last leg decider.
Play. That is what they are playing for. They are playing for the trophy. They are playing for the big prize pot, and they are playing for a place in the £25,000 Champions Week.
97.
There is a point you feel that reality will surely kick in for Adam Paxton. He's here on debut. He watches the Super Series almost every single week. He was happy just to be playing in a group. This could be the leg that we talk about at the end of the night as being the one that changed the final, because Adam Paxton has just gone cold at the moment.
Bang on cue.
He doesn't just get two, he gets the lot.
Adam should take at the 16 out. If not, Mike's just behind him.
Shot on the fifth leg.
Can Paxton deliver one of the biggest moments of his career so far? He can. Double 12. What a moment that is from Adam Paxton. Mike Warburton was looking at 60 to win the match.
14.
Paxton, here's your moment. He approaches the hockey with confidence, with time, and delivers. Adam Paxton on debut. The boy, the fanboy, comes to the Super Series and wins.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time to take a look at the upcoming Cleveland Browns season. Of course, former three-time Super Bowl champion Jerod Cherry joins us here on the show. You may remember his days, of course, with the New England Patriots and the Saints. and working for WKNR, doing Cleveland Browns broadcasting as well. Jerod, thanks for coming back here on NewsWire. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, so let's kind of get into who left and who the Browns have added. And simply put, I think every team undergoes change. The Browns relied on Joe Flacco a lot last year at quarterback because of course, Deshaun Watson being hurt for some of the season and playing ineffective. And on the flip side, the Browns added another backup quarterback in Jameis Winston. So I think that's a pretty good place to start. I know we tend to do that at the quarterback position, Jerod, you know that. It's sort of the talking point. It always drives the bus, the offense, the quarterback. And it's no different for the Browns going into the season. Deshaun Watson is going to be a pivotal focus, I think, for everyone watching Browns football.
And rightfully so, because one, you paid an ample amount of money to have Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform. And on top of that, you simply put can't get far in the National Football League if you don't have a quarterback playing at a high level. Deshaun Watson, in previous stop in Texas with the Texans and Houston with the Texans, played phenomenally well. And we're hoping that he regains that form here in Cleveland. But I'm of the opinion that if he just plays average to good because of how great this defense is, he'll be A-okay and the team will be okay. But you're absolutely right. Joe Flacco, he became a cult figure around Northeast Ohio and amongst Browns fans for his exploits of what he did on the football field last season for the Browns. So he certainly was a noble loss. But we do get Jameis Winston here, and he's obviously a veteran, been in the league for 10 years, understands how to get the job done, and has done great things on the football field as well.
I think, Jerod, also that's a really good point because we know the Browns defense has been stellar the last few years. It's really carried them. But Kevin Stefanski and, of course, the front office went out and did add players to this to help him. They had to go last year back to Kareem Hunt after Nick Chubb came back. So I definitely want an update from you on Chubb and sort of where he stands. And they also added a wide receiver from the Denver Broncos in Jerry Jeudy. And I think that's another player, by the way, Jerod, that the jury is very much still out on. I mean, a lot of people had high hopes for Jeudy, did get his contract with the Browns, but there are some skeptics. There are also some people who feel like maybe a breakout is coming.
Yeah, well, the jury is definitely hung right now on Jerry Jeudy due to the fact that I believe because he had just a bad quarterback situation, with all due respect to the guys that played there, when you have inconsistency at the quarterback position, you're not going to have guys have much success at the wide receiver position. It goes hand in hand. But one thing that we are hoping is that we will be able to acquit Jerry Jeudy of being not a bad football player, but that he can truly live up to the talent that he represents from when he got drafted out of college coming from Alabama. So the sky, we believe, is the limit for him. And then when you think about just the other people that have come in, we've got some veterans on the defensive line who can help our cause in Jefferson and what he represents from the New York Jets and his ability to get to the quarterback. Looking forward to see what he could do. We got Hicks from the Minnesota Vikings. He'll be making up for the departure of Anthony Walker, who was a leader on this defense. So when I look at the Browns as constituted, it's pretty much a run it back situation where a lot of the guys outside of Kareem Hunt, outside of Joe Flacco, outside of Anthony Walker, who are preeminent figures on this team, are no longer here. But I really do like the guys that they brought in from what I've seen so far in training camp. I've been impressed with Jeudy. We had a practice against the Minnesota Vikings for the past 2 days, and I'm here to tell you that in one-on-one drills and when he was able to get the ball in 7-on-7 and team drills, he looked really good. So I'm excited about Jerry Jeudy.
Now, you know as well as I do, Jerod, that a lot of people in this world, I'm going to guess, lean on you for fantasy football advice, too. It's just sort of the way that this world works. We don't do a lot of it here, but as I alluded to before, I mean, Nick Chubb is a very good running back in the National Football League. And I think that whether it's fantasy or reality, I think people are rooting for this kid to get back on the field after that horrible injury last year. Now, I understand Jerome Ford is there and they added Deonta Foreman. Foreman's been on, I think, 4 teams in 4 years. But Chubb is, I think, the one that we're keeping an eye on. I believe if I saw correctly a couple weeks ago, he was doing like work off to the side. Has anything improved as far as that goes? And I think expectations are he will play this year. Is that correct? We just don't know when.
Yeah, it should be that way because we've seen him do phenomenal things. We've seen him jog. We've seen him run. We've seen him squat, 600 pounds? And so right there gives me a great indication that Nick Chubb is well on his way. So I expect and anticipate him being back and the hill. And the beautiful thing for Nick, even though this is a horrible injury that he had to deal with in that Pittsburgh Steelers game in week 2, is the fact that he has familiarity with this situation. He got hurt real bad in college, and some thought his career would be over there and he would even make it to the NFL, but he got to the NFL and he has been more than stellar. So I have to imagine that he knows what it requires of him to get back to that place where he's one of the elite running backs in the National Football League.
All right, and finally, Jerod, the AFC North has eluded the Cleveland Browns since it began a long time ago. This is probably going into the season the closest shot that the Browns have had going in. I think we would agree universally they're favored over the Steelers, like to have a better season than them. The Ravens have always been the cream of that division. Do you think the Browns, Jerod, have what it takes to win the division this year? This is as close to it probably can get. I think even halfway through last year, some people thought the Browns were going to win the division.
Right. It certainly has been within reach, and the Browns, to their credit, have gone from being a joke in the division, not standing a chance, to competing in the division, and now in a spot to where you can truly say with a straight face and no one look at you irregularly that, hey, these guys actually have a chance to win this division. Now, yes, you have one of the toughest divisions in the National Football League that you have to go through, but that's a good thing. I see that as a blessing in that, what does it do? It prepares you for the playoffs. But ultimately, it's going to come down to probably the Browns and the Ravens. And I wouldn't sleep on Pittsburgh or the Bengals because Joe Burrow is back, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, to their credit, have a much better quarterback situation.
They do. And we'll see how it all plays out when the season gets going in September. Thanks again, Jerod, for coming here on NewsWire. It's great to catch up with you once again.
All right, thank you for having me. Pleasure talking with you.
All right, Jerod Cherry, 3-time Super Bowl champ, hoisting those trophies with the New England Patriots, New Orleans Saints. Thanks again for coming on the show to Jerod. All right, we'll take a quick time out. Coming up next, did Ramondre Stevenson forget that one of his players was traded? Sure appears that way. Talk about it next.
What a chance it is for Adam Paxton and Victor Tingsham to pick up their first weekly titles. Adam Paxton, well, it's been the dream debut so far for him. For Victor Tingsham, he'll feel like this is a moment a little while coming. A place in the final up for grabs for one.
You can do it. Make that double 18 away for a place in the final.
Wesley Plaisir was beaten, knocked out by Mike Warburton in a last leg decider.
Play. That is what they are playing for. They are playing for the trophy. They are playing for the big prize pot, and they are playing for a place in the £25,000 Champions Week.
97.
There is a point you feel that reality will surely kick in for Adam Paxton. He's here on debut. He watches the Super Series almost every single week. He was happy just to be playing in a group. This could be the leg that we talk about at the end of the night as being the one that changed the final, because Adam Paxton has just gone cold at the moment.
Bang on cue.
He doesn't just get 2, he gets the lot.
Adam should take out the 16 out. If not, Mike's just behind him.
Shot on the fifth leg.
Can Paxton deliver one of the biggest moments of his career so far? He can. Double 12. What a moment that is from Adam Paxton. Mike Warburton was looking at 60 to win the match. Paxton, here's your moment. He approaches the hockey with confidence, with time, and delivers. Adam Paxton on debut. The boy, the fanboy, comes to the Super Series and wins.
welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we wrap up the show today with some last licks, here are our topics. We're going to talk about a new movie coming out featuring John Madden. In addition, maybe a mistake last night by either a reporter or a player in the National Football League. And how about a great Major League Baseball debut for a player on the San Francisco Giants? Those are some of the topics that are trending that we're talking about here on Last Licks. All right, let's get started with the San Francisco Giants. Boy, were Giants fans upset to hear Jorge Soler was hurt just as he started getting hot for them. Of course, they traded him to the Atlanta Braves, and that meant there were some openings in the outfield, and one of them is being taken by this kid, Grant McCray, who made his Major League debut. And in fact, in his debut, his first hit was this little dribbler that scored a run. So congratulations to Grant McCray. You'll always remember that very first hit. But then later in the game, McCray ended up hitting a home run. So how about that? His first hit went exactly 2 feet, and then his second one about 400 feet. That's the way you got to draw it up in Major League Baseball. They always say in baseball, you're going to see something that you've never seen before on any given day. That is absolutely true. And the good news is, he was able to keep his own baseball for his first hit. Now, the other part about this is I don't know if he ended up getting that baseball back that he hit his first home run. Hopefully he did, because this is not like a Mike Trout type situation. And by the way, it just occurred to me what we're going to do on Monday for Last Licks, Frank. Remind me about Mike Trout. That was what I was thinking about going into the day today. But anyway, congratulations to Grant McCray. First hit, 2 feet, second hit, 400 feet for the San Francisco Giants. All right, last night, who do we blame here for this interview? Last night, New England Patriots, sideline reporting. Reporter asks Ramondre Stevenson about the big loss that happened to his team, okay? Now, the reporter never specifically said to Stevenson, how about the trade of Judon to the Falcons? Never said it. So, I don't know here. So, Ramondre Stevenson's response to the question was all about Bill Belichick leaving as head coach. So Stevenson either very clearly forgot that Judon was traded, or because the reporter never asked him specifically about Judon, he just defaulted and went to Bill Belichick. So in the end, who do you blame here? I mean, I'm not taking shots at reporters. I've been down this road too, and I've made mistakes too. But I got to tell you, sideline reporter there probably had to say, hey, Matthew Judon traded to the Falcons. What do you make of it? Something like that. But instead, he didn't. And Ramondre just gave the answer that he gave. So this was not a slight, by the way, to Matthew Judon at all. Please. He probably just forgot. It happens. All right, finally, new biopic. And it's sort of from what I understand, this is a biopic movie, but also a side movie about John Madden and his past in the NFL. Of course, former head coach for the Oakland Raiders, Super Bowl champion, but known more as a broadcaster, and then, of course, for the Madden video game. I think for people in the last 20, 30 years, he hasn't been broadcasting a long time, passed away a couple of years ago. So they had to find the right person to play John Madden. They have decided it is Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is going to play John Madden in this biopic that is coming. It has got to be tough to cast John Madden in a movie, right? So I don't know if Cage is that guy, but certainly we will find out if indeed that is the case. But the movie will be about Madden's career, video game, and then just all about his coaching career also in the NFL, played by great actor Nicolas Cage, who seems like he's good for any role, can pretty much morph into whoever he wants to be. All right, we got to morph out of here. That'll do it for our show today. And don't forget, our lineup coming up later this afternoon, we've got Kaplan and crew at 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Pharrell Coast to Coast, Scotty in the house at 3. Game Time Decisions, in-game live prime time, and then Gabe on Sports Rage tonight with all of the action in the WNBA. And, of course, the preseason games are all tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that action on SportsGrid and previews tomorrow here on the show. Thanks again to our director, Luke, our producer, Frank, and also thanks to our guest contributors today, Jerod Cherry and Matthew Waters and Bill Bender from Sporting News. Thanks to those three for coming on. I'll see you all back here tomorrow morning. If fantasy football is your pleasure, we have a preview show tomorrow morning. So make sure you tune into that. Myself and George Kurtz will continue to get ready for the upcoming fantasy season. And if fantasy isn't your thing and NewsWire is, I have good news for you. I'll see you right back here Monday for our next edition of the show. So I hope you have a great weekend. and I'll catch you back here exclusively on SportsGrid, 11 a.m. Eastern, live for our next edition of NewsWire. And have a great weekend, and I'll see you then.